Apple revealed the iPhone 16 at its launch event yesterday, plus a whole lot more. Google lost its 7-year fight against the EU. And Polaris Dawn is finally headed to space for its groundbreaking civilian mission. It's Tuesday, September 10th, and this is Engadget News. September is here, and like clockwork, so are new iPhones. Apple unveiled its latest iPhone models at an event in Cupertino yesterday, and as expected, the iPhone 16 handsets are largely iterative of last year's models. While the smartphone's standard and Pro versions took center stage, Apple also showed off the new Apple Watch Series 10, two new pairs of AirPods, and detailed hearing aid features coming to the second-generation AirPods Pro. The company also went into detail on its latest mobile chipsets that power the new iPhones, and reminded folks what they can expect when iOS 18 launches later this month with Apple Intelligence. If you weren't able to catch the announcements live, Engadget has you covered. Here's what was revealed yesterday. Apple unveiled the new iPhone 16 and iPhone 16 Plus at the event, which feature a water and dust-resistant design and new colors, including ultramarine, teal, and pink. The iPhone 16 has a 6.1-inch display, while the iPhone 16 Plus has a 6.7-inch display. Both of those can achieve up to 2,000 nits of brightness and can go all the way down to 1 nit in the dark. The Action button has found its way to this series of iPhones as well, and it's just as customizable as the one we saw on last year's Pro model iPhones. There's also a new easy access camera control button of sorts, which allows you to quickly control the camera with a slide of your finger. This tool can also tap into visual intelligence, an AI-powered feature coming in iOS 18 that can tell you more about anything you point your camera at. Apple also released the iPhone 16 Pro and iPhone 16 Pro Max. AirPods 4 launched yesterday, as rumors suggested. The AirPods 4 have a redesigned bud shape that's supposed to fit more ear shapes and be more comfortable overall. Apple introduced the Apple Watch Series 10, the natural successor to last year's Series 9. It has the biggest display and thinnest design ever on Apple Watch, and the wide-angle OLED display is even a bit larger than that on the Apple Watch Ultra. There are a few other things and a whole lot more details about these releases, and you can read all about those at Engadget.com. Google has lost a 7-year battle with the European Commission as the EU's highest court upheld a $2.7 billion antitrust fine against the search giant. That's according to Reuters. Antitrust regulators originally levied the penalty against Google back in 2017 for favoring its own shopping service against local rivals. Google lost its first appeal with a lower court in 2021, sending the appeal to Luxembourg's Court of Justice of the European Union, or the CJEU. The company argued that it was being punished for its dominant position in the market and that the original decision erred in law by treating quality improvements as abusive. However, the CJEU judges upheld the lower court's decision that the company is allowed to have a dominant position but not to abuse it. In particular, they noted, the conduct of undertakings in a dominant position that has the effect of hindering competition on the merits and is thus likely to cause harm to individual undertakings and consumers is prohibited. An unnamed Google spokesperson has already responded to the decision, saying the company is disappointed with the judgment. They added, this judgment relates to a very specific set of facts. We made changes back in 2017 to comply with the European Commission's decision. Our approach has worked successfully for more than 7 years, generating billions of clicks for more than 800 comparison shopping services. Google is also fighting a legal battle in the EU that could force it to sell parts of its ad tech businesses over similar arguments that it favors its own services over those of competitors. The EU Commission found preliminarily that since Google is unlikely to change its behavior, only the mandatory divestment of part of its services would address competition concerns. All told, Google has accumulated €8.25 billion, equivalent to $9.12 billion in EU antitrust fines over the last 10 years. A SpaceX Dragon capsule carrying the 4 private astronauts of the Polaris Dawn mission has launched from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida in the early hours of this morning after a few weeks of delays. The mission was scheduled to lift off at the end of August, but was postponed first due to technical issues, then because of poor weather conditions forecasted for the crew's return. On board are Jared Isaacman, the billionaire who funded the mission, retired Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Scott Kidd Poteet, and SpaceX engineers Sarah Gillis and Anna Menon. They'll attempt several firsts during the 5-day flight, including the first-ever commercial spacewalk. That attempt will also mark the first spacewalk from a Dragon capsule. Among Polaris Dawn's other goals is to send its crew farther than anyone has traveled since the Apollo program, targeting an altitude of about 870 miles from Earth. The journey will take the capsule and its crew briefly into the Van Allen radiation belt. Polaris Dawn is meant to be the first of 3 human spaceflight missions under Isaacman's Polaris program. Its crew will put SpaceX's new extravehicular activity spacesuit to its most important test yet, as they'll all wear it for protection against the vacuum of space when the Dragon's doors open for the spacewalk. The spacewalk will take place at an elliptical orbit roughly 435 miles above Earth's surface, and 2 crew members will leave the capsule. Thanks for listening. There's more to these stories and additional articles at Engadget.com. This episode featured journalism from Deputy Editor Valentina Palladino, contributors Steve Dent, and Weekend Editor Cheyenne McDonald, and was voiced and produced from the sound studios of Spoken Layer. Enjoy your day, and I'll be back tomorrow with more tech news from Engadget.